Today's reading is from Rays of the One Light, Weekly Commentaries on the Bible and the Bhagavad Gita by Swami Kriyananda, and based on the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda. Abiding in God. Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda. Yogananda often emphasized, more often to his disciples than to the general public, but also to everyone generally, for it was a universal teaching, the importance of attunement. For divine understanding cannot be created, it must be perceived. To the disciples, Yogananda spoke of the importance of attunement with the Guru. To others, he urged the importance of at least attuning oneself to higher consciousness. Can an eagle rise without support from the sustaining air? Jesus Christ said in the Gospel of St. John, chapter 15, I am the vine, ye are the branches. He that abideth in me, and I in him, the same bringeth forth much fruit, for without me ye can do nothing. If a man abide not in me, he casts forth as a branch and is withered, and men gather them and cast them into the fire, and they are burned. If ye abide in me, and my words abide in you, ye shall ask what ye will, and it shall be done unto you. Herein is my Father glorified, that ye bear much fruit, so shall ye be my disciples. How can we abide in him? Jesus says, if my words abide in you. By words he meant not only his spoken words, but his vibrations, his consciousness, of which the words are only an expression. We must abide by the teachings, but we must also absorb those teachings into ourselves, that they become our own experience. For disciples of this path, the more in their hearts they live consciously in the presence of the masters, the more they will find the divine presence living within them. And for all true seekers, whether disciples or not, the more they live sustained inwardly by the awareness of God's presence, the higher they will find themselves soaring in wisdom and joy. For the Bhagavad Gita says in the 10th chapter, I am the source of everything. From me all creation emerges. Blessed with this realization, the wise, awe-stricken, adore me. Thus through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind. Om, Om, Om. There we go. Little technical problems. So, welcome friends to this Sunday service. Welcome to those who are here in the room, and welcome to all of you who are joining us online. For anyone who doesn't know us, my name is Nayaswamis Suryadas, and this is my wife, Nayaswamis Chandi, and it is a joy and a blessing to spend time with you this morning, sharing in our Guru's vibration and teachings. So there is a saying, be careful what you wish for. And there's an interesting aspect to the saying that relates to service today. Chandi and I were not scheduled to be here today. Chandrika was, and she's not feeling well. And last week I was reading today's reading, and I always read the readings about a week and a half ahead so that I can put a little 2-sentence blurb on the website related to that reading. And I remember thinking, oh, this is a really nice reading. The next Sunday service that we're scheduled for is next month, and it's on the topic, does Satan exist? And I think I was thinking, this is a more fun topic, abiding in God. Well, anyway, be careful what you wish for. Yesterday, mid-morning, I got a text saying, can you guys do Sunday service? So normally I have a couple of weeks to prepare when I do service, but by Guru's grace, we're here today and we'll see what happens. It's a joy to be here though. So, what does it mean to abide in God? How can we not abide in God? The scriptures tell us that when God created this universe, He made it out of His own consciousness. We know that God is in everything. He is in each of us. How can we not abide in God? But the scriptures also tell us that when God created this universe, He created two currents of energy, two forces. One that takes us deeper into delusion, deeper into the idea that this reality, this physical reality, is all that is real. This is the current of energy that makes us think that these bodies, these personalities, the various likes and dislikes that we have, the jobs that we have, we define ourselves by all of these things. But of course, this is not who we are. We're spirit. We're the infinite Christ. Even now, though we don't always realize it while we're in these bodies, we are one with God. We are a spark of the divine. And fortunately, we also have this other current that is essentially Divine Mother's presence calling us to return home, to return to her love. And so we're being called and we're being drawn into this other current that takes us into God awareness. And the more we can offer ourselves into that current, the more we can abide in God. In the reading, Swami Kriyananda points to attunement as the way to abide in God, the way to be aware of God's presence. And I'd like to return to a paragraph in today's reading quickly. Yogananda often emphasized, more often to his disciples than to the general public, but also to everyone generally, for it was a universal teaching, the importance of attunement. For divine understanding cannot be created, it must be perceived. It cannot be created, it must be perceived. We have to tune in to higher consciousness. We have to tune in to higher understanding. We have to tune into God's presence. It's like we're a radio receiver and we can attune to various frequencies. And if we want to know God, if we want to abide in God, we have to tune in to those higher frequencies. Earlier this week, I was preparing to stream the first Spiritual Renewal Week class in Master's Kitchen in our community. I was going to stream it so that people could come and watch it. If you don't know about Spiritual Renewal Week, it's something that's been happening this past week. It's a time when devotees nowadays from all over the world come to gather together at Ananda Village and also online and spend time really being with God, really offering themselves to God. There's meditations together, there's classes together, there's kirtans and concerts. There was a play last night and even a banquet, all these wonderful things to take time to just be with God. But I was preparing to stream this first class, and so I got my computer out. I went to the right website, I logged in, everything's ready to go. I plugged my computer into the big TV that we have hidden behind a curtain in Master's Kitchen for these kind of events. And I get the remote out and I click it and the TV comes on. But the only button that works on the clicker, on the remote, is the on and off button. I couldn't change the source so my computer could stream there. And to make matters worse, the TV was stuck on a TV channel that was playing a documentary on serial killers. I had just come out of a deep meditation and I was very enthusiastic about being in the high vibration of this Spiritual Renewal Week first class, and I'm stuck and this thing won't come out, it won't turn off. I can turn the TV off, but as soon as I turn it back on, it only plays one thing. And so, fortunately, I was able to figure out the problem. Fortunately, I set up very early and I had enough time to solve the problem, and we went on to have a wonderful class streaming in Master's Kitchen where we got to pray and chant and listen to a lot of wonderful talks by souls who have been involved in Ananda for many, many years. It was very uplifting. It was a higher frequency than that documentary, I can assure you. In real life, we're always attuning to something. We might think that we don't understand attunement. Attunement's sometimes a hard thing for people to understand when they first come on the path, and you think, I don't know how to do that. But in reality, everyone is attuning to something. Yogananda said that thoughts are universally and not individually rooted. Whatever we think, we're tuning into a certain frequency. It could be a high frequency, it could be a low frequency. And sometimes, even for devotees, when we get caught up in the messiness of life, when we have challenges, we can get stuck, like that TV was stuck, on a lower frequency. And so by consciously learning and working with attunement, we can learn how to unstick ourselves when we have that situation. I would like to read the rest of that paragraph that I was just sharing. To the disciples, Yogananda spoke of the importance of attunement with the Guru. To others, he urged the importance of at least attuning oneself to higher consciousness. So, it is said that when we begin to feel a yearning to know God, we feel that yearning because I told you about this current of energy that's drawing everyone. It's Divine Mother's love drawing everyone to want to come back to our state of oneness with God. When we begin to feel that yearning in our hearts, then God sends us books and scriptures. And so we can read those scriptures, we can learn about the nature of reality, we can be inspired, we can get some instruction. And when our longing grows deeper and our need grows greater, then God sends teachers. Perhaps He sends people to teach us how to meditate or how to pray or how to live in ways that lead to higher awareness, to higher consciousness, how to have the right attitudes in daily life. And when our need is even greater and our devotion is even greater, He sends a guru, the Satguru. The Satguru is a self-realized master who has experienced everything that we are going through, and he has successfully come out the other side. He is now abiding in God always. He is one with God. He has reached that liberation that we are seeking. And so the Guru is one of the greatest blessings that we can have in this life. Swami suggested that for those who do not have a guru, and many of us are disciples of Paramahansa Yogananda, but perhaps some of you are not, and you're just joining us. Even if you don't have a guru, it's good to learn to attune to higher consciousness. In other words, to tune our dial on our little radio receiver to higher frequencies rather than lower frequencies. And we can do this in many ways. We can do this by reading books, by reading scriptures. Scriptures are generally written by saints, and so in reading their words, we can tune into their vibration, we can tune into their consciousness, and we can begin to be uplifted by that, and we can receive instruction as well from those books. Of course, we can meditate and we can pray. Meditation and prayer are both ways to commune directly with the divine, to commune with God. But as probably all of you know, it's very difficult on your own, and so it's good to be blessed to have a guru or to have teachers to help guide you in this process. And so we can practice Hatha Yoga. Ananda Yoga particularly is designed with one purpose, and that purpose is to raise the consciousness, to raise the energy up the spine to the spiritual eye. And so this is a good way to attune ourselves to higher consciousness. We can also spend time with people who inspire us. Yogananda said that willpower, that environment is stronger than willpower. And so it's hard to just be on our own, to meditate on our own, to pray on our own. When we have people who inspire us, when we have others around us who are also seeking what we're seeking divine awareness, awakening in God, spending time with them will lift our consciousness as well. And so this is another way to attune ourselves to higher consciousness. Now, if we have a guru, if we're disciples of Yogananda or another guru, then our primary job as disciples is to attune ourselves to the presence of the guru. And this is the greatest blessing we can have. The guru can enter into our lives, and he not only gives us instructions, he not only gives us things to do, practicing meditation, energizing, serving others, all the things that we do, but he also will change us from within if we are attuned to him, if we let him into our lives. And in a moment, shortly, I'm going to share some more practical, down-to-earth ways to attune to the guru. But first, I'm going to approach this in a little more esoteric way. And when I pray to the masters at home, as we pray, Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, Friend, Beloved God, and then we go on to name the masters. As I name the masters, I like to tune in to and strive to feel the presence of each of the gurus as I say their names. And sometimes I'll be a little absent-minded and I start over. I go, okay, I'm doing this unconsciously. I want to really tune into each guru as I pray. And so I'll start over. And I'd like to invite you to do a little exercise with me, so I'm going to ask you to close your eyes and to sit up straight, gaze into the spiritual eye, and take a couple of deep breaths. And let's tune into each of the masters just by calling them to be with us. Yogananda said, "To those who think me near, I will be near." This is true with all the gurus. So let's tune into, for a moment, the presence of Jesus Christ. Call to him to come to us. Try to tune into his vibration. Try to open your heart to receive Jesus Christ into your life and feel what that feels like. And try to lift your own consciousness to meet the consciousness of Christ. And now, let's tune into the presence of Babaji. Babaji is still alive in the Himalayas. Along with Jesus, he's guiding the spiritual evolution of the planet. Let's tune into the presence of Babaji. How does that feel? Call to Babaji to come to you. Tune into his vibration. How is it maybe slightly different than the vibration of Jesus? These are all masters. There's no difference There's no higher or lower vibration, but there's subtle differences in the way the vibration of each feels. So tune into Babaji and adjust your own consciousness to receive Babaji. And now, let's tune into Lahiri Mahashaya, harbinger of yoga from Benares, the man who brought Kriya Yoga back into the world. Tune into his vibration and his presence. How does that feel? How does your heart feel when you tune in? And lift your own consciousness to allow that consciousness to enter into you. And now let's tune into Sri Yukteswar, Gyan Avatar, Avatar of wisdom. Tune into his presence. Ask him to be with you now. And feel that presence. Tune into it. Offer yourself into it. Allow it to enter into you. And finally, let's tune into the Guru, Paramahansa Yogananda, my Guru Dev, many of you are Guru. Tune into his presence, avatar of love and joy. How does your heart feel when you open up to that presence? The Guru is ever with us if we think him near us, if we call to him. And more than thinking him near us, if we feel him near us. So open the heart and allow him to be with you now. Om, peace. Amen. You can open your eyes now, but you can hold on to the presence of the Gurus throughout this service and beyond, hopefully. So, hopefully that was helpful. I think it's helpful to just try to tune in a kind of esoteric way, to just try to feel. And even if people struggle with feeling something, the exercise in doing it, if you keep trying, you will definitely experience these presences. So what are some of the other ways that we can attune ourselves to the Guru's presence? Well, it begins with the heart. We have to open our hearts. We have to call to the Guru to enter the heart so that he can transform our lives. When Yogananda met his Guru, Sri Yukteswar said, "I give you my unconditional love." Excuse me. And he asked Yogananda to give his unconditional love back. And so they did. They offered their unconditional love to one another. And when Swami Kriyananda met Yogananda, it was the same. And all of us who are disciples of Yogananda, we've taken discipleship vows, we've offered our unconditional love. But this is not something that we do once and it's done. It's something we need to do every day. It's something that needs to become part of who we are. I have kind of a game I play with Master and with myself, in that I challenge myself to remember each morning to greet my Guru and to offer again my unconditional love. And I try to do it as soon as possible after my eyes open. And sometimes it's seconds, sometimes it's minutes, every now and then it's an hour. But even then, when it's an hour, I notice that I'm still thinking of God, so it's an interesting thing. But I challenge myself to directly, I have a picture, a close-up of Master's eyes that's blown up, and I look at that picture, or if I'm still laying in bed, I visualize his face in front of me, and I offer my unconditional love. This is the most important part, I think, of discipleship, because without that longing that comes with the heart to know God and to allow the Guru to transform our lives, the heart is needed for us to be successful. Another important way that we can attune ourselves to the Guru's presence is through discipline, through essentially doing what the Guru asks us to do to the best of our ability. And I would like to read something on discipline that's from The Essence of Self-Realization by Paramahansa Yogananda. Paramahansa Yogananda said, "When I met my Guru, Swami Sri Yukteswar, he said to me, 'Allow me to discipline you.' 'Why, sir?' I inquired. 'When I encountered my Guru, Lahiri Mahashaya,' he replied, 'my will was guided by whims. But when I attuned my will to Lahiri Mahashaya's wisdom-guided will, my own will became free, because guided by wisdom.' In the same way," Yogananda continued, "I discovered that by attuning my will to Sri Yukteswar's wisdom-guided will, my will too became free." Isn't this an interesting idea? That by attuning ourselves to another being, to another person, we can actually become more free. People out in the world would not understand this, but in fact, most of us are not free anyway. We are guided by karma, we're guided by likes and dislikes. We think we make choices, but we're compelled to make various choices, and it's not something that we're consciously doing, it's something that happens to us. But when we attune ourselves to the Guru, when we attune our will to the Guru, then we are attuning our will essentially to God, because the Guru is awakened God. God is fully present in the Guru. We are attuning our will to God. And our true reality is in God. So until our will is attuned to God's will, we're not really free. Some other ways of attuning ourselves to the Guru's consciousness is simply to be in the presence of the Guru, to be in the presence of the Gurus. And of course, Yogananda is not with us. We can't be physically in his presence, but we can speak to him, we can listen to him, we can gaze into his eyes after practicing the techniques in deep meditation. We can, if we have a picture, we can open our eyes and look at the picture and just sit in that stillness and attune ourselves to the presence of the Guru. We can read the Guru's words. There are many writings. We're very blessed that Yogananda wrote so many books, and particularly the autobiography of a yogi. We can really tune into his vibration, into his love, into his desire to help us to be free. I would like to end my part of this by sharing a poem with you by Paramahansa Yogananda. "I came to tell you of him," also called "When I Was Only a Dream." "I come to tell you of him, and the way to encase him in your bosom, and of the discipline which brings his grace. To those of you who have asked me to guide you to my beloved's presence, I will warn you through my silently talking mind, or speak to you through a gentle, significant glance, or whisper to you through my love, or loudly dissuade you when you stray away from him. But when I am become only a memory or a mental image, or silently speaking voice, when no earthly call will ever reveal my whereabouts in unplumbed space, when no shallow entreaty or stern stentorian command will bring an answer from me, I will smile in your mind when you are right, and when you are wrong, I will weep through my eyes, dimly peering at you in the dark, and weep through your eyes, perchance, and I will whisper to you through your consciousness, and I will reason with you through your reason, and I will love through your love. When you are able to talk, no longer to talk to me, read my whispers of eternity. Eternally, through that I will talk to you. Unknown, I will walk by your side and guard you with invisible arms. As soon as you know my beloved, and hear his voice in silence, you will know me again more tangibly than you knew me on this earth plane. And yet, when I am only a dream to you, I will come to remind you that you are not but a dream of my heavenly beloved. And when you know you are a dream, as I know, we will be ever awake in him. God bless you. Chandi will share a little now.
Thank you all for being here. It's been a joy this week to tune in, as Suryadas was saying, to the spiritual renewal talks. I'm hoping that most of you were able to do that. And also, for me, this reading, as we said, this was just, we got the call, and the very first thing we always say is say yes to life. And so I wrote Suryadas back. I said, yes, let's do it. And it reminded me, because this is right now the spiritual birthday for Ananda village. It's also at the end of Ananda, the SRW. It's also a time for me, because it's actually my spiritual birthday too, when I first came to Ananda 28 years ago. But also 28 years ago, I was in a triathlon, and I remember when I got in the water for the first time with, I don't know, there must have been 100 people there, 100 women. It was a women's race. And we all dove in at the same time. Now, I had been practicing quite a bit on this journey, and I'd practiced in open water, but there's something else about being in open water. And we were in Washington, so the weather was good, but the water was freezing. And I dove in, and at the point that I dove in, all of these like green things were all around my legs, these green seaweed growing in the lake there. And it was almost like it caught you. And I thought, I can't do this, And then I thought, oh my gosh, there's all these people around. I can't be a fool. I got to keep going. So that's kind of how I'm jumping in today, is that you're all here supporting us, but it's a really fine lesson of saying yes to life and moving ahead, even when you don't know what you're going to do, but you trust in the Guru. Today's lesson was the reading, I am the vine and ye are the branches, is from Jesus in the Bible. And that is the attunement, our deep attunement. The vine is God. The vine is the Guru. And we are the branches. We are the fruits bearing from our labors. And I also had an experience this last couple weeks. I had been at home, and I kept hearing this other verse. Now, I was raised in a real Christian family, and we memorized verses. That was part of our thing. Every morning at Sunday service, we would go to Sunday school, and we would have these drills, and we'd learn these verses and play these games on who could find the verse in the Bible. But now, as an adult, they come back to me in segments, because I can't remember them all, but knock, knock on the door kept coming to me this week, the last 2 weeks. Knock, knock on the door. And I said to Master, what is that about? Knock, knock, knock on the door. And I had this feeling that the story I'm about to tell you, I wanted to tell the story somehow, weaving it into a Sunday service or one of our Friday events. And it was something that happened to me in the year 2017. I had been teaching, and I was the founder of the Living Wisdom School in Seattle in 2002. And this happened in 2017. And I had the opportunity at that time, I was teaching kindergarten. But that particular year, I had also a TK class, which is pre-kindergarten. And so I had 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds in my class. And that's a pretty big spread for education, to be able to give them what they need. And I had a great group of kids, just great group of kids. But there was this one little girl that had come to the school, and I noticed her right away. She had a spark in her eye. She was beautiful. She's a little Indian girl, and she was 3. And she was not in my class, but I'd see her in the hallways and outside on the playground. And I noticed she wasn't very happy. And then I didn't give it much thought, but I always said hello to her. Her mother called me one day and asked for to come and chat with me. And I said, sure, yeah, no problem. And she had told me that her daughter would go home every day and cry. She said, I'm not happy in my classroom. I want to be in Chandi's classroom. And she's just 3. And I just, I didn't really know what to say, but I saw that spark of Master in her. I knew she was Master's child. I just knew it. But I didn't know how that I'd get her in my classroom. There's a lot of administrative type things that happen in a school. And so I went to the principal and I said, I want to try her out in my class. I want to see how she does. And I forgot to tell you, she told her mother, I want to be with my people. These aren't my people. I want to be in that class. They're my people. And I'll never forget that. So I tried her out. She was wonderful. She was the youngest, but all the other girls and boys just kind of took her by the hand and showed her the ropes. And so she transferred into my class. The rest is kind of history. She was with me for 3 more years. Well, I get a call about maybe 2 months ago now from one of the ministers in Ananda village. She says, you will not believe who I saw at Sunday service. I said, who? She goes, Ishi. I said, oh, really? They're in the village? And she said, yes, she's come to the Ananda village for 5 weeks to be in the school there. And so you should get a hold of them. I got a hold of the parents, and they're like, she wants to see you, she wants to see you. So we arranged, Suryadas and I, to go up to the village to see Ish, a short hike with her down to Lotus Lake and up to where she lived. But I'll never forget it. The sun was setting, and I looked at her. She has hair down past her hips now. She's never cut her hair. But she was in that divine presence. She was in God, and she found her people. She found her place. I know she'll be back, and I know that this was a really, really special time. It was a very special time for me as well, to be able to notice that spark in her and be able to help her find her way. So much of what we have is given to us in Scripture, but until we live it, until we take this thread and begin to intertwine that tapestry into our lives, we cannot really fully accept what's the Guru's grace. So let us join together and deepen our practices, ask Master to guide us in all that we do, and we too can abide in God and go deeper in His presence at every moment. Joy to you.